Did you know there's a simple adjustment to the wheel strategy that could double your returns? Now, most traders get stuck at a certain level with the wheel, but I've discovered a specific approach that pushed my trade win rate all the way up to 91%. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact adjustment that increased my win rate, as well as the simple technique to avoid those trades that turn into massive losers. Now, to start, let me show you the biggest mistake that I was making that was capping my win rate. And it's all to do with charts. You know, you love to hate them. And it's probably the most confusing aspect of trading, especially when you are just starting out. You know, you see those videos of people with 8 different monitors, 57 charts, flashing lights, and you're just thinking, what on earth is this? And let's be honest, most new traders open a chart and feel like they've just walked into the cockpit of a 747. And there's so many different buttons and things to press, and you don't know what half of them do. And it feels like using the wrong one or clicking the wrong button could destroy your account. The truth is, you don't need to be a pilot to get where you want to go with the wheel strategy, because most beginners and even intermediate traders get overwhelmed by technical charts. And so what a lot of them do is just ignore the charts completely, which means you can miss out on opportunities, or worse, make mistakes because you're paralyzed with confusion. And I did the same thing when starting out. I ended up making trades just because I liked the stock in question, and I completely discarded if, even though it was a good stock, was it a good stock at the time? And because I ignored the chart, what happened to me, and what I've seen happen to lots of others, is you make a handful of trades that turn into big losers. And with the wheel, if you have a handful of big losers, even if you've got a high win rate, it can significantly hamper your returns. Because even though you've got a lot of winners, those few big losers actually eat into the bulk of your profits. But what I learned from this, and what we now teach to our students, is instead of trying to master every chart indicator, we got to think of a stock chart just like a GPS in the beginning. Because with a GPS, you don't need to know how the satellites work or what every single road in the city looks like. You just need to know where you're going and how to follow basic directions. And it's the same with a stock chart. And my chart framework is that GPS because it takes away all the noise. And in the beginning, it shows you how to focus only on what matters for safer, more consistent trades. And I believe this is a big part of why we've been able to be so successful. And if you look at our Trustpilot reviews from our students, you'll see what really matters and how we teach trading in a safe, systematic manner. But what does this GPS actually look like in practice? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you my own chart setup and the framework I use to keep things simple, clear, and focused on what really matters for the wheel strategy. All technical indicators actually just tell you one of two things. They either tell you the direction of a trend, or they tell you how strong that trend actually is. And once you know this, you can actually get the most out of just a couple of indicators, which means you're not going to be overwhelmed in the beginning. And it also means you can use tools like TradingView for free without having to pay for a subscription. You've got to think of technical indicators like learning languages. You wouldn't just try and learn 10 languages at the same time because you get nowhere.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je t'appelle Blue.
Instead, you just focus on mastering one before moving on to another. And trading indicators are the same way. All you've got to do in the beginning is get a good understanding of one or two of them, because that's going to give you the foundations that you need to turn your trading from this sort of random clicking of buttons into something systematic and repeatable. So when you're learning technical analysis for the wheel, just start with one indicator in each of these categories. For direction, just start with something simple like a moving average. And then for strength, I like the choppiness indicator, and that's because it's represented as a number. So there's no interpretation of it. The lower the number, the stronger the trend. So now you just have one indicator for direction and one indicator for strength. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into TradingView and show you how we'd actually use this with actual stock charts. So here we are on tradingview.com, and I've got a couple of charts up. I've got CRM, Salesforce on this tab, and I'm going to look at Ford on the next tab. So I've got my two indicators here. So I've got my moving averages, And we've got 4 of these here. So we've got the long dated one, which is the 200 day, that's the blue one. Then we've got 100, 50 and 20. So the most recent one, which is in red. Now, if a stock is trading below all 4 of these, you should never, ever, ever sell put options on it, because there is no indication of a reversal and there's no indication that anything's going to get better anytime soon. With the choppiness index, which is this thing down here at the bottom, most important thing to understand, and this is also something that you can see from the chart itself, the lower the number here, the stronger the trend. Now remember, the choppiness index does not signal direction, only the strength of the trend itself. As you can see here, we have a very, very strong downtrend, which is also confirmed by the very low number on here. So if you're going to be trading the wheel or selling puts on this, you should never ever sell puts on any chart that looks like this. So Salesforce might be a good company, but just don't trade it right now. On the flip side, we have something like Ford. Now, I want to highlight the choppiness first. So the choppiness is right in the middle. So this is what we consider like a weaker trend, which if you're selling put options is completely fine. You don't need a really, really strong upward trend. And as you can see here, we're above all 4 of these moving averages. So this is a pretty decent stock to sell puts on at the exact moment I'm recording this. And that is the 80-20 of looking at stock charts. You just need 2 indicators. You've got your moving averages here, then you've got your choppiness index here. And so you can actually do that with a free version of TradingView. So you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars a year on technical tools when you're just getting started, because it's more important that you actually learn how to interpret the charts than it is to have all of the bells and whistles that sites like TradingView have. And if you want more of a tutorial on the whole process of the wheel, there is a video which will be linked in the bottom left corner of the screen right now, and I hope you enjoy it because I had fun making it.